This is Abe Friedtanzer from Awards Buzz. Very excited to speak with Mary Beth Barone about overcompensating. How are you?
I'm so good. How are you?
Good. I had a chance to speak with Benito actually very recently, and he was a lot of fun. But what I told him, which may surprise you and certainly surprised him, is I didn't know who he was before the show.
Wow, this was your introduction to Benny Drama 7. That's special. That's really
So
special.
it was a lot of fun still, and I did really enjoy it. But what I think is interesting is your character, Grace, is someone that I don't think we really liked very much at the start. And we really, as people go, and we'll talk full on spoiler warning, everybody, for the whole show
Oh,
here.
good. Okay, great.
Please watch everything. It gets a lot better because, I mean, part of it is I think because Benny's the main character and she's mean to him. It's like, why would we like her? But
Totally.
tell me how you originally, thought about this role when you first found out about it.
Well, I think what's so great about the show is that first entry point really is through Benny's POV. So we're sort of meeting all these characters in the context of how they relate to him. And then I think he was really, really committed to making every single character feel so complex and dynamic. And so we sort of start to peel back those layers as the season progresses. And I think I sort of knew from the beginning that the backstory was that Benny's the golden boy, he's the favorite child. Grace feels like she never really gets approval or validation from her parents, so she has to seek it in other ways. And so I always knew that Grace would be maybe a little bit like repellent to some of the audience at first. But then I think as we get to know her more, we see her relationship with her boyfriend Peter. And then I think the Thanksgiving episode provides a lot of context to how her family dynamic is. And there were so many subtleties that were put in the script that were just so brilliant. I think, especially on a second watch, people really pick up on how Grace interacts with her family and with Benny. And I think for a lot of the characters that feel like they're making choices that the audience doesn't necessarily agree with, I think the writing is so amazing because you really start to understand why they're doing that. I think even in the case of, Peter and feeling like he has to overcompensate and be hyper masculine, it's because his parents are teachers and he's not rich like everyone else in Flesh and Gold. And then, Carmen seeking all this validation from men and romantic partners and sexual partners. I think even though the first overcompensating we are introduced to is Benny's, we really we really learn to love the characters because we see more of where they come from.
And I do think that a lot of her journey is also very solitary. Like Benny's going through stuff with Carmen, but like when she goes and she works the concert, and it's like she has this immediate access, but she doesn't have anyone to share it with. It's like it's them, and then she's back to just being by herself.
Exactly. And I think the episode with the Charlie concert is so important for Grace's arc because she finds she's actually really good at like being in a leadership role and kind of telling people what to do, which I'm sure doesn't surprise her. But then when Peter tries to pull her back in and have her prioritize what he needs, I think it's really important for that to happen so that she can start to see what life would maybe be like without having him holding her back.
And I was thinking that like Peter is not a good guy, but he's really not that bad. He just gets progressively worse
Right.
and, makes a few unfortunate decisions that ultimately result in him being rewarded for being so like it's a questionable. I don't know how to feel about him.
Yeah, I think Adam plays it in such a way that you sort of do kind of root for him because he's still the underdog in a lot of his interactions with the more like hyper masculine characters. And yeah, I think him being rewarded for leaking the Flesh and Gold slides was just that like that moment where as a woman or a queer person or anyone that is not a straight white male of privilege, you're just going, oh, the one thing that we thought maybe he would have to take accountability for, he's actually rewarded. So I do think that happens a lot, unfortunately, still in 2025. And I think as frustrating as that is for the audience, I'm sure people will feel seen in that moment as well.
Well, I was saying to Benito that like maybe I'm just living under a rock, but I feel like the world, hopefully at least like liberal colleges, should be a little bit more accepting that like this is a kind of story that like in 2000 would have been like, of course this is what happens. But I would hope now that like if somebody came out, and maybe it's just the fear of doing that, that if somebody came out, it'd be like, okay, this is just what you are, and like that's cool too.
Right. Yeah, I think it depends on, I think genuinely like where you come from and your family dynamic because I still think there are so many people who young people and of all ages who really feel that love is conditional, and if they live their lives in the way that they really want to, that's true to themselves, they people won't love them anymore. And I think what's so great is that it is a story about this closeted jock, but it's also about how everyone in the show feels like love is conditional. And I think in college especially, it's so heightened because you're on your own for the first time, you're away from your parents, you're maybe trying new and different things like Benny in the film school, and he's not very good at that. So I think it's a very universal story, even though it also feels very specific.
You have some pretty legendary on-screen parents, Connie Britton and Kyle MacLachlan, who are both like so playing such detached characters who like are not living in the real world at all.
Yeah. Sorry, there must be someone walking down my hallway. That's my dog. I mean, first to get the text from Benny that they had signed on to play our parents. I mean, I'm a Friday Night Lights fan. I watched Twin Peaks. I watched Sex and the City. Just love both of them. I was like honored to even be able to be in scenes with them. And I do feel like even though some of the things that they do, like the curved flat screen and the Invisalign and the accent walls, feel outlandish. I think for empty nesters, it is that question of like, who am I now? And they just played every joke so well and felt so honest and real. And I think those were the days that I broke the most, especially with Kyle taking out the Invisalign and and you know trying to shake it off the spit. Yeah, it was just incredible to even work with them, and they were so professional and so lovely and really very just like warm. So yeah, it was, and to work with Charlie, like all the guest stars that we had, I was just like, it felt like I knew that the script was so special in the project, but then for these people to sign on, it felt very validating for sure.
And that was a sign to me that like, oh, some people know this guy. Like just because I don't know him, like obviously he's done something that I just haven't seen.
No, 100%. And I mean, the internet, there's just so much content. So it's like, it's easy to have blind spots. Lord knows I have them. I'll sometimes see a video on my reels and I click on the person and they have 11 million followers. And I'm like, how could I not have ever heard this person's name before? But maybe I'll see their show on Prime. Who knows?
Well, one relationship that I really love is the one that Grace has with Carmen, because especially at the start of Thanksgiving episode, it's so unnecessarily hostile and then just gets warm. And I feel like I sort of, as somebody who doesn't love cringing when watching something, I would have liked to see Carmen tell Grace, who obviously apparently already knew, and have that instead. But there's still something so perfect about the moment in which she's like, I know. And it's like, you did? And then we don't know what's going to happen with that. And obviously we have a much more pressing issue to discuss, that'll be a big thing. But I love the fact that they could be good for each other.
Yeah, I think this question of like, is Grace a girl's girl that the Catherine poses in the Thanksgiving episode, it is really poignant. And I think she lost touch with her friend Mimi because she was in a relationship with this guy who was really driving a wedge between them. And then she has this opportunity to connect with someone who at first she's very like mistrusting of. I think women are pitted against each other in all facets of society. And when you're a junior and there's this crop of freshmen coming in and you're like, well, who the hell are they? They're younger, and you feel threatened. So I think for them to have those moments of connection were important, at Spuds, the bar in Boise, important for the audience and for the two characters. And I do feel like, I got asked this during the junket if I think there's any hope for Grace and Carmen to be friends. And I do think there is some potential healing that could happen there. And that moment at the cafe when Grace hears Carmen called Tatiana Del Rey, she's like, you see that moment in her head where she goes, "Oh my God, that's who Peter had sex with." And then, yeah, I mean, the finale is, I think, such a classic season finale, and so fun to watch. It takes a lot of turns, but I was just impressed they were able to pack so much into like 35 minutes. So much happens.
What's supposed to come next? And if you don't, how would you like to see Grace react?
I do know a little bit of what Benny's thinking for if, knock on wood, we get a season two. So I can't spoil anything, but what I would love to see is her working closer with Caleb Heron's character on the student activities board and really just leaning into the leadership role and being able to play to her strengths, which is being kind of cold and emotionless, and and turning that into hopefully a career. We'll see.
I do think there's hope. I think that, things get good, but I think part of the reason that this show is fun is because these characters aren't able to be completely happy. Like if we had them just enjoying themselves, that would be boring. And it's nice to see them, difficult as it can be, to struggle.
Yeah, I think what's so fun about what I can say about potential next season or continuation of the story is like Benny wants each character to have a totally different way of overcompensating. So whatever path we see them go down in a season two, they're still going to be overcompensating. They're not going to be able to really be who they truly are. They're still going to be doing way too much, but it would just be, in a totally different environment or situation. So I think that is what's so genius about the show. It's like you have all these characters who are so different, but they are all overcompensating. And so that's the one universal truth.
Given his impressive ability to get all these like major names and to work them into the plot in believable ways, who's your dream guest star for season two?
Oh my gosh, dream guest star. Um, I know some people that like Benny and I have talked about on like a dream wish list, but I think Julia Fox could fit into the cinematic universe in a really fun way. So I think she would be so fun to have on set and to see what she would do with a character at Yates University potentially.
I know that you've done some comedy and stand-up, etc., but I was familiar with you mainly from a short film that I enjoyed a couple years ago called The Anne Frank Gift Shop,
Oh yes, of course.
which I feel like that occupies a very specific space that it's like another sort of like you're supposed to cringe, but also this is probably something, these kind of meetings that happen all the time.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was a really fun project because Mickey Rapkin, who wrote the script, just like what I'm really learning about people, well, successful creatives is they're all very decisive and they come in with such a distinct vision. So we shot that short over 2 days and it was like he just knew exactly what he wanted and it gave us such a great space to work within because like we knew exactly where the camera was going to be and we had to get through some longer monologues and stuff and it was also just a really fun group of people and I actually had a parasite that day so I texted him the night before because I was going to the emergency room and I was like I think I might need to get my appendix out but if I do I'm still going to be there tomorrow because that's like the worst fear is like you can't make it to set over a 2 day shoot. I was like there's no way they're going to be able to reschedule this for me, but it turned out it was just a parasite. So I drank Pedialyte for 2 days, and everyone on set was very supportive of me. I was quite famished, but the project came out so well, and I do think it's a testament. Like towing that line of like such serious subject matter and making it funny. Like those are the type of projects I will always say yes to, and I always want to be a part of. So I was honored to be trusted to help Mickey tell that story, and I can't wait to see what he does next. I know that short is still playing at festivals, and he's had a great run with it. It was shortlisted for the Oscar, so yeah, I was just an honor to be involved.
Ahead of a hopeful season two pickup very soon, what else do you have coming up?
I'm working on a couple of feature projects and I'm going to be taking my hour back out. I think I'm going to do my hour of stand up. I'm going to do some shows in New York this summer. And the podcast is coming back on May 28th, which is also my birthday. I'm dyeing my hair back to brown. I've got a busy summer coming up. So yeah, I really hope, and the premiere is next week. So that's the sort of next big thing, which we're really excited about.
Great. Well, ahead of the show, what are you watching? What do you really like on TV these days?
It's so funny because I'm one of those people that I love like a comfort watch. So I'd have a rotation of Mad Men, Girls, and Sex in the City. And so I am currently on season 4 of Sex in the City. And that's why my hair is curly because whenever I see Carrie Bradshaw, I'm like, I need to wear my hair curly. So I've been wearing more high heels and curly hair because I just love these gals. Feels like home.
I get Sex in the City, I could sort of get Girls, but Mad Men as a comfort watch, just because like it's good, or because it makes you feel good about yourself and like the world.
I love a period piece. The time that time in history is just so fascinating to me, and I really love to watch the show with like I don't know the characters I tend to love the most changes on based on like where I'm at in my life. So I think a big platform for me is like Justice for Betty Draper. I think she's a similar character in that like once you start to learn more about her, it makes so much sense why she is the way that she is. So yeah, Betty Draper, January Jones, fabulous. I mean, she'd be great as a season 2 cameo also. January, if you're reading this or listening, I'm a fan.
Awesome. Well, I'm so pleased that I got a chance to talk to you, and I wish you plenty of luck with a very busy summer and the start of this show, and looking forward to whatever's next after that.
Thank you so much. It was great to meet you.